Good morning, y'all. I am squeezing this in before it turns to afternoon just to hold my commitment. Today is Monday, December 9th, and this is episode number 6 of December Things, which are daily audio uploads or live streams that are just intended to promote wellness, uplift, encourage, and inspire. And hopefully, if you're listening, you get at least one thing from these recordings to help carry you into the new year. Today, we're going to be talking about choices, making choices, and dealing with consequences as a result of said choices. The great thing about each one of us is that we are decision makers in our own right for a lot of things. We should understand that although we do not control circumstances and some things just happen and it is what it is, a lot of times we have choices to make within those circumstances. And we get to make those choices according to information that we have in front of us, information that we may anticipate, and also from past experiences. So a lot of things goes into making choices, and it's just not something that you do, just off the cuff. Usually, some things require you to react quickly and make a decision quickly, and that's understandable. But for a lot of life things, we have the ability to sit and think and marinate, as the old folks say. Think about some things before we actually make a decision. So, if you are choosing where to live, you research the area, hopefully. If you have children, you research the school system, you look at the demographics, you look for the crime rate, those sorts of things, right? If you have a choice to make about one job opportunity versus the next, you kind of pull some of the people who work there. You ask about the good things and the bad things. You ask about their experiences and whether or not they see themselves sticking around for the foreseeable future. So you kind of do a little research there as well. And the overarching thing that I want you to take away from this recording today is that you can make your choices and then you have to deal with the consequences. Sometimes we hear this and we're like, oh, yeah, whatever. You hear it. I've heard that before. Yes, it never hurts to hear things more than once and more than twice. Sometimes repetition is what it really takes to make things stick. So when you make a choice and you have a favorable outcome, you're happy about it. You're glad, yeah, I made the right decision. Man, go me, pat myself on the back, clap it up, go out for a treat, whatever the case may be. However, when we make choices that do not have favorable outcomes, um, it's time to sit and reflect. You can reflect on the good choices too. The lessons are usually in those choices where the outcomes are unfavorable. And then you have another choice to make. What's your reaction to that going to be? Ownership versus accountability is something that comes to mind when I think about choices and unfavorable outcomes. It's important to own decisions that we make. And in some cases, own the outcome if the outcome is a direct effect of a decision that we've made. I hear the term accountability thrown around a lot. I'm gonna hold you accountable. You gotta be accountable for this and that. And I feel like accountability takes the weight off of the person who made the choice. And it's actually somebody else trying to punish them for the choice they made, or trying to have them admit that they made a bad choice, or have them suffer for a choice that they made. Ownership gives it back to the person who made the decision, and it's now up to them to own that decision and the consequences that come along with it. I think sometimes as adults, we have to get away from the blame game and pointing fingers and spinning narratives and gaslighting folk into believing something that's not true, or reordering events to make things work in our favor. I think adulting is one of those things, just like parenting. You cannot be taught to be an adult and to make good choices or work through the choices that you make, and you know, I don't want to say suffer the consequences, but accept the consequences. And for some of us, it's tough. We make a decision, there's an unfavorable outcome, and then we want to start pointing fingers at everybody about what went wrong and how this happened. And at some point you just got to say, okay, wait a minute, let me look back on this and see what I did, what I missed. Was there some information that I didn't have? Did I overlook something that I should have dug a little deeper into? Am I just throwing caution to the wind and making these choices because it's the easy thing to do? We move so fast in society today that we rarely take time to sit and reflect. Rarely, rarely, rarely. Always doing something. Well, let me speak for myself. I had to actually learn to sit down and say, all right, let's just reflect. Let's think about some things here, and then let's change some things so that we can have a more favorable outcome the next time, or so this doesn't happen the next time. And, I tell my kids every day, have a great day at school today. Make sure you make good decisions, make good choices. And they've picked up on that. And if something happens and they're in trouble for it, they'll say themselves, I didn't make a good choice. Or I'll say, was that a good choice to make? And we can talk about it a little bit. So, owning up to outcomes is a big part of maturing. It's a big part of conflict resolution, whether in professional spaces or personal spaces. It's just an everyday part of life. And it's a life skill, something that needs to be cultivated and worked on over and over and over again. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with talking about it. There's nothing wrong with sitting down around the table of your support network of friends or family and just talking about life things in general. Think about it. How many of you do that? How many of you actually sit down and have conversation with friends, whether it's over a dinner, over a card game, watching your favorite TV show, sitting on somebody's back patio, just taking a little bit of time to slow down and reflect on situations. It's not often. It's not often that we do it. So I just wanted to share, if I can find a quote, there's a quote in this book called The 12-Hour Work Week. I have to see if I can locate it. It's a very good quote about accountability versus ownership. And that quote kind of changed my perspective on how I look at things, and not necessarily having people holds me accountable for a decision, but me myself just owning up to decisions or choices that I've made and accepting the outcome, And like I said, if it's earlier, unfavorable, the outcome is unfavorable, then trying to look into what I can do differently. That's in anything. Think about all the choices we make on a daily basis. Something as simple as putting on a short sleeve shirt when we know that the building we're going to sit in is usually chilly and we don't take a sweater. That's a choice. The outcome is unfavorable. You're going to be sitting in that building and you're going to be chilly and you're going to be saying to yourself, I wish I had brought my coat, or I wish I wore long sleeves. Simple decision. The outcome is going to make you uncomfortable. All the way up to something like a yellow light getting ready to turn red and there's a car coming and you think you can beat it. And in a split second, you make a decision to go on through the yellow light that's getting ready to turn red, and you miss it by an inch because you misjudged the time. And now you end up in a car accident. So, small things, big things. Choices are choices. And I feel as though sometimes we got to take the time to own up to them and reflect on the situation at hand. That's all I have for today. It's Monday. Let's have an amazing week. Let's be productive, whatever that means for you. If productive means rest, then rest. If productive means decluttering a space, then declutter a space. If productive means getting your house ready for the upcoming holidays, then do that as well. Whatever you do today, know that it is enough. And I will see you all tomorrow. Toodles.